The United States Department of Education is a cabinet-level department of the United States government. It began operating on May 4, 1980, having been created after the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare was split into the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services by the Department of Education Organization Act, which President Jimmy Carter signed into law on October 17, 1979. The Department of Education is administered by the United States Secretary of Education. It has 4,400 employees, the smallest staff of the cabinet agencies, and a 2024 budget of $238 billion. The 2023 budget was $274 billion, which included funding for children with disabilities, pandemic recovery, early childhood education, Pell Grants, Title I work assistance, among other programs. This budget was down from $637.07 billion in 2022. Its official abbreviation is ED, but is also abbreviated informally as DoEd. In February 2025, it was implied that President Donald Trump would prepare an executive order to effectively abolish or curtail the department, although it can only legally be abolished by an act of Congress. Unlike the systems of many other countries, education in the United States is organized at a subnational level by each of the 50 states. Under the 10th Amendment, the federal government and Department of Education are not involved in determining curricula or educational standards or establishing schools or colleges. The Department of Defense Education Activity oversees schools located on American military bases, and the Department of the Interior's Bureau of Indian Education supports tribally controlled schools. The quality of higher education institutions and their degrees are maintained through an informal private process known as accreditation, over which the Department of Education has no direct public jurisdictional control. The department identifies 4 key functions: establishing policies on federal financial aid for education and distributing as well as monitoring those funds, collecting data on America's schools and disseminating research, focusing national attention on key issues in education and makes recommendations for education reform, prohibiting discrimination and ensuring equal access to education. The Department of Education is a member of the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness and works with federal partners to ensure proper education for homeless and runaway youth in the United States. For 2006, the ED discretionary budget was $56 billion and the mandatory budget contained $23 billion. In 2009, it received additional ARAF funding of $102 billion. In 2011, the discretionary budget was $70 billion. The department's origin goes back to 1867, when President Andrew Johnson signed legislation for a Department of Education.